Thank you. And please help me welcome Dave. Nassaney.
Hello. Oh my, you can hear me. Well, as Ada said, my name is Dave Nassaney, and she's a wonderful gourmet cook. She wanted to know if she could pay me to do this speech or if she could make me a meal, and you can guess which one I said. So we had a wonderful meal last night. She delivered it to our hotel room. Thank you, Ada. My wife is a gourmet cook, so she also appreciates the wonderful job you did. Well, how many are caregivers out there? Half?
Well, I think
Everybody? Okay.
to some degree.
See, most caregivers are not like with us yet, and so I will assume you're all caregiving and that you're all stressed out. Some of you burned out, some of you at your wits' end, and some of you don't know what you're going to do tomorrow, let alone today. So I titled this speech, Avoiding Caregiver Burnout, a Deadly Occupation. Did you all know you were in a deadly occupation? Right up there with disarming nuclear warheads and just being exposed to hazardous radiations, things like that. It all started 44 years ago when I married this beautiful woman, my beautiful wife Charlene. We had a fairy tale storybook romance for the first 22 years of our life together. Life was good. We raised our 3 daughters, and they had 7 grandchildren, and we got them out of the house, got them married off, and we even had a couple of grandkids to boot 22 years ago. And so we did a lot of traveling. You know, I have a gas station, so I'm able to get away. I have people to take care of it. Thank God for that. But we would travel to Hawaii all the time. We've been coming here, I don't know, 25 or 30 years, at least once a year. And now we love it so much, we come twice a year for about a month each time. And while I'm here, I'm doing a lot of speaking events. I spoke or will be speaking at 7 events this particular time. Some of you saw me at the Ala Moana at the geriatric conference there, and I'll be speaking again Saturday, and I can't remember the name. I'll give you all the information afterwards if you want to say, oh, so-and-so should be here. Well, we'll have 2 more opportunities, maybe 3, to actually hear me again. So I'll share that later. So, burnout. Like I said, my wife and I were doing really good, but then one day she had the headache of her life. Right? She doesn't get headaches, but this was a 3-day headache, and it was so bad she wanted me to call Dr. Kevorkian. Remember who he is? Yes. He's the guy who would help seniors end their life. She was joking, of course, but the headache was that bad. But we don't go to a doctor just for any little headache, but she was going to go the next day because it was really bad. But then, by that 4th morning, that headache ceased being only a headache. By the time the ambulance arrived, it was too late. My beautiful wife, who I adored, suffered a massive stroke, and it left her severely speech impaired, paralyzed on the right side. And in that moment, everything turned upside down for us. Nothing would ever be the same. In fact, the next 2 years was like a living hell for both of us. Charlene became angry and bitter most of the time because she was grieving her loss. She wasn't the woman she was. And then I became angry and bitter. So it wasn't pretty. I wondered if I could even take care of her anymore. And it came to a point where I was so frustrated, I just remember screaming out, I can't take this anymore. So I sat down and I wrote her a letter. I was going to get it off my chest, right? Journaling is very therapeutic. So I wrote, Charlene, why are you so mean to me? It's so hard being your husband, taking care of you 24/7, not getting any crumbs of appreciation in return. I know it's hard on you, but you're making it even harder on me. I just don't think I can be with you anymore. I mean, I'll take care of you financially, but I just can't be with you. I took that letter and I read it over and over again. I just couldn't give it to her. I didn't have the heart. I mean, don't get me wrong, I wanted to love my wife. I wanted to care for her. I wanted to be that loving man that I was 22 years earlier. She was making it so impossible. I didn't know how to care for her needs anymore. Frankly, didn't know if I even wanted to. I wondered if there was any hope for us. But then one day, I found a business card in my pocket. It was inviting me to a caregiver support group. I didn't even know what a caregiver was. But I figured if somebody gave this to me, maybe I should go. Maybe they thought I needed it. So I went, and everything changed. I met people there who were just like me, burned out caregivers. I found out that if I didn't take care of me, I couldn't take care of my wife. The airlines tell us what? In the event of emergency, put on your oxygen mask before your loved one. I mean, that makes sense, right? Well, so I started doing that. I just took care of me so I could take care of her. One day at a time, just being selfish. It's okay for caregivers to be selfish, you know that? Because they're so unselfish that we got to bring the pendulum back towards selfishness just to be balanced. Well, when I discovered that I was able to change, to my amazement, my wife started to change. Slowly at first. I mean, don't get me wrong, she still can't talk, but she can communicate non-verbally through Pictionary and charades. Two games I hate, by the way, but I'm learning to love because I'm not very good at it. And she still can't walk, but we got her this four-wheel drive power chair that was made in Japan that goes faster than I do, and we travel the world. We go all over the place. She's here in Hawaii with me, one of the places she loves. And she just, anyone who meets her for the first time doesn't even realize she can't talk. She makes us normal people like whiners and complainers. She's like a one-armed wallpaper hanger. I mean, really, she's like Wonder Woman and Martha Stewart all rolled into one. So she decided, after her 2 year of hell, where I almost left her, that if she was still alive, maybe God still had a purpose for her, because she was strong in her faith. But you wouldn't know it by watching her for those 2 years. So she decided that she was going to do everything that she did before, and that was a lot. I mean, she was an interior decorator, a hairdresser. She made ceramic dolls. She was a gourmet cook. She put on dinner parties. She was a wedding coordinator. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. She's like these two people. And so, when I realized how much I learned from my beautiful wife, Charlene, and my caregiver support group, I realized that there are so many other caregivers out there, like you guys, who are suffering, feeling pain, and feeling lost and alone, and I didn't want you to hurt anymore. I figured that if you just don't do everything that I did, because I did everything wrong, then you'll be better off. I didn't want you to give up like I almost gave up. So I became Dave the Caregiver's Caregiver. I now host a popular iTunes podcast that has recently become a syndicated radio show in all 50 states and 135 countries. I've also written my third book. It's My Life Too, Reclaim Your Caregiver Sanity by learning when to say yes and when to say no. During my national book and media tour, I've appeared on 24 morning shows all across the country. This is just some of them. And I've also spoken at Harvard 3 times. Once sharing the stage with Suzanne Summers. Once I was shared the stage with George Ross. And believe it or not, if you know who that is, I shared the stage with Caitlyn Jenner. And that was very interesting. I gave her my book. Her parents are elderly. And, everyone's going to be a caregiver one day, because I assume everyone has parents or grandparents, and they're not getting any younger, are they? I've also spoken at NASDAQ. They were so nice, they put my wife and my picture on the Jumbotron in Times Square, and fortunately somebody was smart enough to snap that picture. I've also been invited to speak at Mercedes-Benz, Coca-Cola, and West Point Military Academy. So I'm on this whirlwind book tour that God is just opening the doors, and I'm just walking through, and I'm just anxious, not anxious, but excited to share my story if it'll help just one person. So let's talk about the bad news. There's roughly 65.7 million caregivers just in the US. That doesn't mean Canada and the rest of the world. But this number's low because let's face it, sometimes your neighbor might come up to you and say, hey, you know, it's hard for me to get my newspaper, so you go bring his paper. And next thing you know, you're reaching things for him on the high shelf. Next thing you know, you're cooking him breakfast, dinner, and lunch. Next thing you know, you're taking him to doctor appointments. How did this happen, right? Sometimes we don't even realize we're a caregiver. We just kind of fall into it. And we didn't sign up for it. It's not on our resume. But here we are, right? How many would say that you didn't plan on being a caregiver? Anybody? Whoops, I got some more information on that. Here's the sad part. 30% of caregivers actually die before their loved ones do. Wow. Right? That means however many there are in this room, about a third of you, statistically, are not going to make it. Well, let's talk about the 60% of you, which is the majority, right? You're just going to get, good news, you're lucky. You're just going to get sicker than the ones you're caring for, eventually needing a caregiver of your own. I'm not sure which one is worse. Some things are worse than death, right? And if stress doesn't kill you, well, just wait. AARP and the United Hospital Fund did a study of 1,677 caregivers, and they found that roughly half of them felt down, depressed, or hopeless just within the past 2 weeks of the study. You know, with all the recent suicides in the news lately, we have to ask, if there is depression, is suicide far behind? I mean, think of Anthony Bourdain. What did he have to be depressed about? The guy's wealthy, he's good looking, he travels the world, he eats all sorts of exotic foods. I wish I was him. But apparently it wasn't enough. He struggled with depression. So, everyone is going to be depressed at one point in your life. And there's a difference between being sad and being depressed. You know, I'm talking about where you don't want to get out of bed. You haven't gotten out of bed in a week, if you have that luxury. You don't eat right. You don't eat at all. Or you eat too much. You know, there are so many symptoms that if it sounds like you are having a problem with depression and it's taking over your life, then go see a doctor. You know, there are antidepressants on the market. And I know a lot of people don't want to do drugs. They don't want to do antidepressants. The very word scares them. You watch those commercials on TV with the long list of things that might happen to you. But you know, I know a lot of people who are on them and it helps. My wife is on Zoloft because with a stroke comes clinical depression. And it just takes the edge off. It's not like marijuana makes you high or anything like that. It just brings back the chemical imbalance in your brain. And if you've tried it and it didn't work, well, you didn't give it enough time. Sometimes you need a different brand. Sometimes you need a different dosage. So see your doctor, because the alternatives are not better than taking an antidepressant and trying to get over it, right? Here's a trivia question. How many of you know what all of these celebrities have in common? So if you don't know, that's the Fonz. And then we got Dwayne The Rock, Hillary Clinton, Queen Latifah, the First Lady, Rosalind Carter, Joan London, Paul McCartney, Mrs. Arnold Schwarzenegger, I don't think she uses that name anymore, and the infamous Debbie Reynolds. Anybody have a guess of what they all have in common?
Well, fame.
No.
Well,
Caregivers drink a lot of alcohol because that's how they medicate. Sometimes that gets us through the day. Nobody really?
Mental health, depression.
No. You know, I'm so amazed. Nobody has been able to answer this question in a group.
Shame.
No. They are all caregivers. Yeah, see, caregivers touches everybody. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, rich or poor, famous or nobody. You know, most of these cared for their parents. Paul McCartney cared for his wife with cancer. Debbie Reynolds, of course, cared for her daughter. Hillary, her mother. So let's talk about the 3 huge, as Donald Trump would say, huge mistakes that caregivers make, okay? And if you can just not make these mistakes, you are greatly increasing your chances of staying out of the morgue and staying out of the hospital. How many would like to hear those? Okay, all two of you. First biggest mistake caregivers make is not putting your needs first. I already told you what they do at the hospital, right? They say, in the unlikely event, not the hospital, the airline, in the unlikely event of an emergency, oxygen mask will fall. Put your mask on first before you help your loved one with their mask. Hello, what an amazing metaphor for all of life. Take care of you first, not out of selfishness, but out of survival. They know better than anybody. If you go down, everybody you're with goes down, okay? The second biggest mistake is not asking for help. Now everyone has one of these. It's called a cell phone. You turn it on, you punch in your number. Hello, Mom, I need help. Grandma's driving me crazy. You know, call your brother, call your sister, call your wife's ex-husband, call anybody, but get over that silly notion that if you can't do it all by yourself, you're a failure as a caregiver. That attitude will kill you. I cut my finger back in February because I was building something and I was almost finished and I needed someone to hold the end of this molding. I was using a skill saw and I'm the caregiver's caregiver and even I couldn't ask for help. Why? I cut my finger down to the bone, cost $35,000 to sew this thing back together with a plastic surgeon. Insurance paid all but $3,000. But I don't know why I didn't ask for help. Maybe I just didn't want to put anybody out. Maybe I didn't want to feel indebted to them. Maybe, I don't know. You answer that question. You fill in the blanks because you're all doing the same thing. The third biggest mistake caregivers make is they just allow people to heap on the guilt like they were stacking pancakes. Remember that sitcom a while back? It was about a caregiver caring for his elderly father in the junk business. You know what I'm talking about?
Sanford and Sons.
Yeah, Sanford and Son. Fred Sanford was notorious for guilting his son Lamont into doing all sorts of cockamamie, harebrained schemes that he would manipulate him into doing. And it was something like this. Oh, well, it's a big one, son. No, really, it's a big one. Elizabeth, I'm coming to meet you, honey. And Lamont would fall for that con every single time. Caregivers are the same way. You know, it's like being handcuffed to your loved one for the rest of your life. A prison sentence, solitary confinement in caregiver prison. So what's a caregiver to do? Well, I'm glad you asked. They are to care. This is my acronym. Communicate with your friends, okay? Don't isolate yourself. Caregivers need a life outside of caregiving. Ask for help, like I said. When help is offered, do you know how many caregivers turn it down? Oh, no, I got it, it's okay. And if you're going to ask for help, be specific. Don't just say, hey, I need help, call me. Say, hey, tomorrow at 3 o'clock, I'm all out of vegetables. Can you stop by the market, pick some up for me? No, how about 5 o'clock? Great, I'll see you there. If they say no, call the next one on your list. Ask for help. What does the Bible say? You have not because you ask not. Jesus said that. Asking for help is a sign of strength. If I would have only learned that, I wouldn't have this ugly scar on my thumb and I would be $3,000 richer today. And like I said, I'm the caregiver's caregiver. Even I have trouble with this, so I know you do. But maybe you can learn from my mistakes. Don't do what I do. I always tell our parents, do as I say, not as I do. The third R in my acronym, rest. Caregivers need 8 hours rest every single night. You know the average caregiver only gets 2 or 3? I can't survive on 2 or 3, can you? How many in here are getting 2 or 3 hours sleep a night? Eat healthy, nutritious food. Whoops. Don't eat junk food. Junk food's got sugar, chemicals, processed ingredients. All that stuff will kill you. So that's why I wrote my book. It's my life too, Reclaim Your Caregiver Sanity, by learning when to say yes and when to say no. So there are warning signs of caregiver stress. You feel physically exhausted and worn out. Emotionally, you feel resentful, stressed, or bitter. Relationally, are you feeling used or unappreciated? And financially, are you overwhelmed, depleted, and broke? Nothing worse than to be broke, have more month than money at the end of your checkbook. Let me ask you a question. When was the last time that you did something that you loved, that you were passionate about, that you used to do before you became a caregiver? Huh? Women love to get their nails done, at least my wife does, a pedicure. When's the last time you did that? Something for you. No, you'll sacrifice your life for your loved one, but you won't do anything for yourself. And you're the one who has to put your oxygen mask on first, because if you don't make it, what's going to happen to your loved one? Some unappreciative or unloving family member may just stick her in a nursing home somewhere. You don't want that to happen. You've got to take care of yourself. Do you find yourself catching every little bug? You're always got the sniffles. You're always getting sick. You're always either giving germs or receiving germs, because a burned out caregiver has a low immunity level. So you got to take care of that. When is the last time you went to a movie with a friend? When's the last time you did anything with a friend? When is the last time a friend has called you or you have called a friend? If you're the kind of caregiver who likes to just tell everybody your problems, tell all your friends what hell you went through today, they don't want to hear that stuff. No wonder they're staying away. Go to a caregiver support group and unload on them. That's what they're there for. Then they can unload on you and you feel better that you're not the only one going through all this stuff. Uplift your friends, compliment your friends. Be nice to your friends. Save the caregiving stuff for the caregiver group. Don't isolate yourself. You find yourself snapping at people, right? You used to be such a nice person and now you're just chopping people's heads off because no reason at all. So you don't want to be this person. Oh, yes, we have to talk about guilt. How many here have ever been feeling guilty about anything with your loved one or your caregiver life, right? That's either number 1 or number 2 on the scale of problems that caregivers have, right? Most of us inherited the guilt from our mothers because, and if you're Jewish, times 10, because they just know how to dispense guilt. I can tell you, Fred Sanford, Lamont knew he was being conned, but he just, in the back of his mind, he didn't want to run the risk of his father not crying wolf, and he actually died, and then he remembers the last words that he told his father weren't very kind. But you can't let guilt manipulate you like that. If any of you make promises to your loved one, and this is very common, you'll say, don't ever put me in a nursing home, please, don't ever put me in a nursing home. Or your dying father made you promise on his deathbed that you would never put your mother in a nursing home, and you made that promise. You need to unshackle yourself from that terrible promise, because that promise will kill you. Okay, you need to go back and instead say, I'm changing my promise. I can do that. I can change a promise. I'm going to replace it with another promise. Here's the promise. I promise I will take care of you with the best possible care available. That will make the guilt go away. Support. I don't know how anybody can survive without support. What is support? Support can just be someone who comes by and lets you vomit on them, figuratively speaking. Because we need to vomit, we need to flush. Put a little handle on your ear, just flush, and let all that stuff just go down the drain. Because you need like-minded people to let you know it's okay what you're feeling. And it's okay, I felt that too. And it's okay because look, I'm better. This is a temporary problem. And what do some people do with temporary problems? They implement permanent solutions, like suicide. You gotta get organized. There's no one more unorganized than a caregiver. They're misplacing prescriptions, they're missing appointments, they're they're forgetting to eat, you know. There are things that you can do to help you stay organized, to help you get in the habit of delegating. You don't have to do everything. You've got a family, you've got brothers and sisters, maybe you have church members, synagogue members. You can ask for help. This isn't a one-person show. Journaling. How many of you journal? That's not enough. You know, journaling is so therapeutic. It's like therapy. You just put everything down on paper. Like that letter I wrote. I felt so much better writing it. You don't have to give it to the loved one. You know, just let them have it. Or get a drum set, or get one of those punching bags, you know, to let out your stress and your frustration. I mean, I wrote 3 books. This is how it started. Maybe your journal will turn into a book. You know, one day you're not going to be a caregiver anymore. And one day you may be in a position to actually help other caregivers. And all you got to do is go back to your journals. And they might be that thick when that happens. That's like 3 or 4 or 5 books. So I developed a membership website because I wanted to do something to help you guys instead of just talk to you. So I came up, I spent a lot of money making a website that I wanted to put everything in it that I thought would help you. So I started with, it's at www.caregiverdave.com. That's easy to remember, right? Because I'm a caregiver and I'm Dave. And so it gives you 100% of all the access to all the tools that I put on this website. This is the page that helps you. It says, you're probably frustrated like I was and felt like giving up like I almost did. I was in solitary confinement in caregiver prison. How many feel like you're in caregiver prison? Join the club. So we have my radio shows on there. I've got over 200 radio shows about topics that you need to hear. Okay, you go down the list, it's just a long list. We have blogs and articles about we've got over 1,000 blogs and articles about things that you need to hear. We call it the Thrive Tribe because we don't want you to just survive as a caregiver, we want you to thrive. These are all the benefits at the bottom. We have weekly podcasts, free book downloads, weekly webinars, so it's like a group therapy coaching session. Online support groups. Not only do we have our Facebook support group at Dave the Caregiver's Caregiver, we have a private group that's more intimate, that you can feel more comfortable sharing your innermost secrets that you don't want the world to know about, and that comes with the membership. I made 7 Thrive packs on different things that, I'll go into that later, but just things that caregivers are struggling with. These are some of the blog articles. See some of the finding support for seniors facing challenges, living alone, 7 ways to fight caregiver stress, 4 things you should never say to a caregiver, right? There are people who just don't know how to talk to us caregivers, right? They always say, well, how's mom doing? Oh yeah, but they never say, well, how are you doing, right? They never ask how you're doing, or they never just stop by and say, hey, I'm gonna help you out. Let me watch grandma today. You go get your nails done. You go have a Starbucks, or go take a Calgon moment and just relax. There are so many things that others can do to help caregivers. These are some of the shows that I've done. Cheryl Duffy wrote a book called The Divorce Tank. Did you know that caregivers have a higher incidence of divorce? That's a real shocker, huh? It's hard on the spouse. It's so, you know, so when I was in the hospital with my wife, so many, when I went to the caregiver support group, so many spouses had left their wife or their husband while they were still in the hospital. This is, I didn't sign up for this. You know, I can't do this. And it's like, you know, you do what you have to do. What else? This is the Facebook page. This is my first book. You get a free copy of that as you join. And this was my wife and my story. I call it One Arm, One Leg, 100 Words, because she lost her speech. She lost the use of her right side of her body. And this book just tells you how we overcame our unbelievable hardships. My latest book, the bestseller, Reclaim Your Caregiver Sanity. You know, you need to learn boundaries in your life. Caregivers are always getting their boundaries violated. And you know, whose fault is it if somebody offends you? Well, it's your fault because you never told them the ground rules. You know, never told them where the line was that they shouldn't cross, right? So that could be fixed. You go back and say, you know, to your loved one maybe, you're always interrupting me when I'm trying to do something for myself. I'm here for you, but between the hours of 12 and 1, that's my time. I'm either going to be napping, I'm going to be writing, I'm going to be listening to podcasts. So unless it's a dire emergency and you're going to die, wait before or after. And they're going to test those, like children do, right? And then you've got to have self-discipline to say, hey, you know, remember we spoke about this? I'll do it this one time, but if it happens again, no. And then they'll do it again. You say, hey, I'll see you at 2 o'clock, or whatever. And so sometimes we have to treat our loved one like children, unfortunately. And if they're your parents, role reversal, hello. You're now the parent, and your parents are now the child. And that's a tough situation to be with, especially if your parents are controlling or love to manipulate and make you feel guilty. So I have a coaching program. Sometimes people have so many issues, a book is going to help, but it's not going to fix them. Sometimes you just need the one-on-one coaching, and I offer that as well. I give a free 60-minute coaching session to members as well. And then the group coaching as well. So this is the fry packs I was talking about. This one's talking about boundaries, how to put boundaries in your life. This one is just a welcome pack to get you on track if you're a brand new caregiver, or to put you back on track if you're just a veteran caregiver who's kind of gotten off track. Perfectionism. Oh, how many people are perfectionists, right? It's never good enough. I'm never doing enough. You know, it's like mothers. Daughters are always trying to find acceptance with their mothers, or sons find acceptance with their fathers, and like they live their whole life trying to just get acceptance, and so they become yes people. They become what's the word that they use for that? I can't think of it right now. Having a senior moment, but when you're always trying to please, a people pleaser, that's the word I was talking about. You're always trying to please people, and people pleasers just can't say no. So I recommend you stand in front of the mirror and you just say no 100 different ways. It has to be, so no, 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 no. No. What part of no don't you understand? My wife's favorite. No, 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 no. And I count the no's, you know, to see how serious it is. And one time she got up to 9 no's. So, but that's one of the few words she can say. She knows about 5 words. Dave is is the other word she knows. Overcoming isolation. We already discussed that. Don't isolate yourself. You need a life outside of caregiving, because one day when you're not a caregiver, you know, a lot of people go into depression. They should be celebrating. I'm free. I'm not a caregiver anymore. But instead they're saying, what am I going to do now? It's like their whole identity was wrapped up in caregiving. It's like, what do you do when you're no longer a caregiver? They feel like they were just fired from their job and they go into depression. You know, there are lots of things you can do. You can volunteer at the senior center. You can take those journals and write a book. Do what I'm doing. Start a radio show. Go out and speak in front of caregiver groups or senior centers. There's lots of things you can do. No need to be depressed about not being a caregiver. Have a party. Yes, we're sorry if our loved one died, but you know what? Chances are they were in great pain. My mother was suffering from dementia for at least 10 years, and she kept saying every day, oh, why doesn't God just take me? You know, why am I still here? And I said, well, there's a purpose, Mom. Maybe you're supposed to share Jesus with your roommate over there, you know, or whatever. So chances are, if they died, they're in a better, happier place, and you should be happy for them. Oh, that one I skipped over. Anger and depression. Anger is good, but it has to be certain kind of anger. I mean, even Jesus turned over the tables, right, of the money changers because he was righteously indignant. So we have to have the right kind of anger. Depression, like I said, it's okay to grieve. It's normal to grieve. Different people take different time lengths to grieve, and some people grieve longer than others. So this will help you if you feel like you're stuck in your grief. And this is a care schedule guide. It actually has lists of things that caregivers do, duties, the dishes and the cleanup and the doctor appointments, just everything so you don't forget one thing, okay? And it's very valuable. How about a guilt-free, resentment-free life? I started a video series also that is part of the membership. And what it is, I have a hammock at home. I live in Los Angeles. This is my second home. And so whenever I'm on my hammock, I seem to solve the world's problems because I pray and I meditate, I talk to God, He talks to me, and I leave that hammock a wiser person. So I says, why am I being selfish and keeping all this wisdom to myself? I want to share all this wisdom. So I call it 5 minutes of Dave's hammock wisdom. And I made like 5 or 6 of them since I've been out here. There's no hammock out here, but I was walking on the beach or in the pool or in the ocean or watching the sunset. So things like helping others to help yourself. Expect the unexpected. Never give up on your dreams. Secrets of good habits. Serving is loving. The seasons of your life, and so on. This is just a 5-minute snippet, because maybe you just had an argument with your mother and you're at your wit's end. That's a perfect time for 5 minutes of Dave's hammock wisdom. On our Facebook page, every Tuesday we have where you share your story, let everybody know who you are and what you're going through, and they will help you by offering advice. The same thing happened to me. Here's what I did, and this is how it turned out. I've got this card. It's a USB, plugs into your car stereo. It's got my top 25 shows. Just tons and tons of, these are care quotes. Sometimes you don't have 5 minutes. Sometimes you only have 30 seconds. No problem. Sometimes you're in the middle of something, right? You ever in the middle of something and you only have 30 seconds because the something is escalating. And you just have 30 seconds to lock yourself in the bathroom and try to compose yourself. Sometimes this can help, on your phone. By loving yourself more, you love the person you're caring for. It's got an inspiring quote with an inspiring picture. Enjoy the little things in life. For one day, you'll look back and realize they were the big things. We have a resource page for those who cannot, if we can't help you, we'll send you somewhere where you can help. One of my resources, this lady wrote a book that is about that thick. It's like an encyclopedia of how to get free stuff, free food, free respite care, government aid at the local level, the county level, the state level, the government level, Medicare, Medicaid. It's a very, very valuable book, and I recommend everybody get it.
What's the name of it?
It's called Resources for the Caregiver by Camille Superson. Group coaching, that's me. I share that wisdom from the hammock to coaching calls. If you get 6 or 7 or 10 or 15 people on a call and you're talking about your problem, chances are half of the people are experiencing that too. And either you're going to be helping them or they can help you, like it's group therapy. Then I interview anyone who would like to be, because your story will probably help someone else's story. Now if you're so shy, oh no, I could never do that, I'm too shy. Well, we can not use your name, it'll be anonymous, and you'll still help people. So here's everything I put together just to help caregivers. 60-minute coaching call, weekly group coaching, my bestseller, It's My Life Too, ebook about overcoming hardships, the USB card, 25 popular shows, welcome pack, and 6 Thrive packs. Become a member of a private Facebook group, unlimited access to Dave's videos and podcasts, caregiver resource page, blogs and articles, and 22 years of caregiving wisdom. It's priceless. I charge $97 for this. And I used to give it away free for 5 years. But you know what I found? Especially with free coaching. A person puts a value on what you're giving them by what they paid for, either in time or money. And people who received my free coaching, and they desperately needed it, and I was telling them good stuff, but they never did the homework. They never sometimes even showed up for the appointment. because they got no skin in the game. They're not invested. So I figure every caregiver could probably come up with $97 to stay out of the hospital or stay out of the morgue, right? I mean, we would gladly spend $97 on our loved one if they needed a prescription or something, whatever, but we never spend it on ourselves. So that's why I'm not doing you any favors if I don't charge it. Because for 5 years it was free, and I'm helping more people now that they're paying, because now, think about it, you got a doctor appointment, right? And you're too tired, you don't want to get up, it's at 8 o'clock in the morning, but you know that if you don't show up for that doctor appointment, they're going to charge you for it anyway, $80, $100. So that's what gets you up and go to the doctor, and they find out that there's a problem, right? And you almost didn't make it. And if they didn't charge you for that doctor appointment, you probably miss it. So that's my logic there. So today, I've got this book, which is $15, and that book, which is $10, but if you buy both, I will give you a special for $20. And one other thing, on the membership, I said that I was going to, because I love Hawaii, if anyone wants to join the membership, there's a special website you can go to, mahalodave.com, which is available, and you can join the membership website for half price, for $47.97 instead of $97. If any of you are interested or want to invest $47.97 in yourself to try to stay out of the board and try to stay out of the hospital. So that's it. Now I will open the floor to questions, if anyone has any questions.
Okay, give me a second. Rosemary?
Don't be shy. Questions for me, or questions about your loved one having a problem?
That's why you're so thin, Kimberly. You're running around all the time. Dave, I wanted to ask, I'd like to buy that for one of my sons. If I buy it for 47, can you do it for someone that's in California?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Just go to that Mahalo Dave. That's the only one with the lower price on it.
Anyone have another question? Okay, thanks.
Bill Donahue.
I was wondering, who's taking care of your wife while you're here?
Well, she won't let me come to Hawaii without her, so she is in the hotel room at the Outrigger.
And she can stay alone?
She's very independent. I'm very blessed. I mean, she can cook, she can clean, she can do the laundry, she can put dinner on the table, she can do the dishes, she can take care of me, she can bathe herself, she can go to the bathroom herself. There isn't too much that she cannot do. And yet, she's working on only the left side of her body and with duct tape over her mouth, in essence, you know. And like I said, I'm very blessed. That's why we're traveling so much, because, you know, I saw a bumper sticker one time and said, we're spending our children's inheritance. I says, you know, tomorrow is not promised. I says, she's 74 years old. She's 10 years older than me. I was 20 and she was 30 when we married. And she could put me to shame for many things. I mean, she does more than most normal people I know. And anyone who meets her just says, oh my gosh, you know, what am I complaining about? This woman can't talk and she can't walk, and look at what she's accomplishing. So she's an inspiration to everybody who meets her. Ada didn't meet her yet.
Does she have dementia as a result of this?
No. What she has is called global aphasia. So many things can happen on a left-sided stroke, which is what she had. Some people, their understanding is limited. You know, they can't quite get what you're saying. Some people can't speak. Some people can't read. Some people can't, you know, their depth perception, their balance. So what is affected with her is she knows what she wants to say. Everything coming in is fine. She can understand, she can read. But everything going out gets tweaked. She can't remember how to spell the word, so it's a game of charades or Pictionary. She'll leave vowels out or syllables, not syllables, but letters. Like she might, if she wants to go to the store, we have a store in LA called Ralph's, she might put RFS. So I have to figure out what RFS means. But after a while, you start learning to speak Charlene. So she is very independent. And you know what? During her therapy, her mother was living with us. I got along with her mother, but she didn't. So her mother would always come to her rescue. You know, Charlene felt comfortable in the kitchen. She wanted to cook and do things, and I would let her do it. Her mother, no, I'll cook the dinner. So Charlene's up out of her wheelchair trying to reach for something on the top shelf, and her mother says, oh, here, honey, let me get that. And I said, no, go ahead, reach a little further, just stand on your toes, you can do it. You know, and the occupational therapist says that I had a very good outlook for occupational therapy because you either push them to their limits that they may or may not have, or you just always come to their rescue and you create an invalid. So my wife is nothing close to an invalid, and I think it's because of how I treated her. Yes?
How long ago did this happen?
It happened on Labor Day, September 1st, 1996. So we just had a 22-year anniversary 3 days ago. We used to celebrate, but now we don't celebrate very much. We just mention. Yes?
Yesterday I went on a seminar with firefighters at EMT and saying that they have PTSD. And they were saying how it's like, surviving all these little knife wounds they don't take care of, and eventually commit suicide. There's a high rate of, suicide ideations and suicides among them. I think this is very similar. This is why every time you have a knife wound, you gotta take care of it. That's why I think it's important to have that help that, you're offering.
Thank you. Yeah, there is a higher incidence of suicide among caregivers. There's a shocker, right?
I have a question. I was a caregiver once upon a time, and I came to the office and someone said, Wendy, you could be depressed. You're depressed. How can you tell sometimes as caregivers you're just going through the motion because you got to do what you got to do? How do you know you're depressed? I didn't sleep. Maybe Jennifer, she's a psychologist. How do you know you're depressed?
Well, I had something up there on the screen. I think ask yourself 4 questions. When is the last time you went to a movie or someplace or dinner with a friend? Okay? Because depression will isolate you. If you're isolating yourself, chances are you're depressed. When is the...
I blame it on menopause. That's why I don't want to go to a movie. Too tired all the time. Maybe I'm depressed. Only teasing.
Well, I don't know. I don't know much about menopause. But I know some people who have gone through it. They always get these hot flashes. So if you're getting hot flashes, it's menopause. If you're isolating yourself, it's probably depression. But what are some of the other things I said about, are you not eating right? Are you eating too much? Do you open up and eat a gallon of ice cream in one sitting? Chances are something's wrong. You're, what do they call that? An emotional overeater. Okay. What other things? Yes. Are you not sleeping well? You have insomnia. And now you try to go through the day sleep deprived. Okay. I don't know how old you are, but you're probably over menopause right now. I don't know. Now that came out wrong.
Does anyone else have a question?
What are the next 2 tops?
Next 2 talks.
I know a lot of people in their 40s who are finished with menopause. So. Okay.
What are they talking next here on the
Okay.
Do you have that information?
I do. Tomorrow I'll be speaking at Percy's event at the Ala Moana Hotel, but I think that's sold out. It's only for professionals. But on Saturday I'll be speaking 2 places. One at 1 o'clock at the Kapahulu Library in Waikiki near the...
Great, that would be a good location.
So come if you didn't hear enough of me, or send some people who you wish they were here. Every time I'm speaking or listening to a speaker, I say, oh man, so-and-so should be here. Oh man, so... I think of all the people, and I'm distracted because instead of listening to the speaker, I'm saying, oh, so-and-so needs to hear that. So that's Saturday at 1 o'clock. One more, and then Saturday at 10:30, I'll be speaking at this other place. Go ahead, I'll answer your question. I'll find out what that name of that place is, because that just came up.
I'm just wondering, are you going to speak on the Big Island at all, or in California? I have 2 people that really need to hear.
California.
Where in California?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
Let me think. At 64 years old, I found it's harder for me to to think while I can't chew gum
That's a
and
man
walk at the
thing.
same time.
Hey, guys can't do that anyway, that's a woman's, a woman's thing.
So on Saturday at 10:30 at the Palolo Chinese home, they're having a senior health and wellness day. So it starts from 9 to 11. There'll be a lot of speakers there, and I'll be speaking. I'll be the last speaker at
That's
10:30.
Saturday?
Saturday,
At
9 a.m.
9 a.m.
to 11 a.m. Is that far from here?
No.
Oh, good.
It's by Kapu'u, if you know where that
Yeah, they've got a lot of interesting speakers. Peggy Ferguson from University of Hawaii is speaking. I think a former state senator is speaking. And I think one of your representatives is sponsoring it, your U.S. representative, what's his name? Calvin Say. Heard of him? Speaker Emeritus, Hawaii State House of Representatives. So it'll be a fun time. Yes?
The Alabama Hotel, what time was that?
Ala Moana is at 1 o'clock. But I don't know if they'll let you in.
So what was the other one at Kapu'u?
Kapahulu Library, 1 o'clock, I'm sorry.
What day?
Saturday, same day. 2 events on one day.
How do you do two?
Well, I'm speaking at 10:30 on one, and then I'm running over to the other one at the other one at 1 o'clock.
Well,
10:30 and 1.
We have another question too, if you could repeat the resource book.
The resource, let me look it up so I give you the exact title, but it's, write her name down. It's Camille, C-A-M, how do we spell Camille? Yeah, if you say so. Camille Super Son, S-U-P-E-R-S-O-N. Let me Google Amazon real fast. If somebody beats me to it.
Essential Resources Guide for
Yes,
Caregivers.
that's it.
Is that the free one? Yeah.
It's not free. It's
But it's the way to get free stuff.
Essential
it's on my resource guide, yes.
For caregivers,
Yes.
Amazon.
It's not free, but what's the price of that one?
It is $24.97. Your Prime subscribers, $25.
Now, if you go to Camille's website, she says you can have it cheaper, and then she'll give you a bonus along with it, a caregiver welcome guide. So I think it's at CamilleSuperson.com
Dr. Camille.
or Dr. Camille.
Well, we
So
just,
it's cheaper on our website.
we want to thank a couple people here in the office first. I would like to thank Ada for instrumenting our gathering.
I met Ada by going to an open house, because I always like to look.
Yes,
Because that's-
she shared that.
That's my dream, you know, to live here in Hawaii on the beach somewhere. And hopefully it will happen before I die, but I
Your
love,
dream can come true.
I love to look at open houses. You
If you
guys,
don't, your kids will buy it.
And then please join me in just welcoming Dave, thanking Dave for coming. Thank you all for being here. You'll always stick around for a little while if you have any questions. Please hang
Yes.
out.
I'll
Enjoy some
answer
coffee.
one-on-one questions.
Thank you so much.
And I noticed